We're here with Scott Stevens from Power Reduction Technologies Incorporated. Lance and I looked at his product at the 2010 Green Expo in Orange County, again sponsored by Alex Rivera from HowToSaveFuel.com. I was so impressed with this. Scott, give us the overview here. We're using capacitors to do something we've never thought of using them for before. Is that correct?
Well, yes and no. Capacitors have been used in this capacity for quite some time. In fact, Energy Star appliances use capacitors now to make them more efficient. Unfortunately, the only thing they're able to do is add capacitors to the motor at the factory based on the motor size. Right. What we have the ability to do, and we have the patented ability to do, is go out and size a motor or test a motor at the facility that it's plugged into, using the power that it's being supplied with, which varies from location to location. Okay. The power may be more efficient. In fact, it is usually less efficient in industrial areas as it is as opposed to residential. So units do work on residences. We like to see a minimum of a pool pump or an air conditioner because the technology only works with motors. So the more motors you have, the larger they are, the more they run, the more savings you're going to get.
I have a project coming up with in Lompoc with a horse farm, and pumping water is their main objective. And they're using so much energy to do that. So this is an area
absolutely
really use.
Irrigation pumps, water pumps, chiller motors, pool pumps that are running 6
so
hours a day.
So it's any electric motor? Is that basically it?
It works with anything reactive power. So all electric motors, okay. T12 fluorescent lighting, transformers, welding equipment, okay. Just about anything like that.
And in terms of a bottom line here,
on residential, again, because the size of the electric motors are about like this. This is a typical refrigerator, washer, dryer motor, 5-amp motor, but they're only running 6 minutes out of every hour. So the savings isn't going to be there.
Gotcha.
If you're running, pool pump or air conditioners, here in California, people run their air conditioners a lot. They like to keep it cool.
Right.
Then you're going to see typically around 10% savings mark.
Wow.
Now we go into an industrial complex where they're running motors the size of this table here.
Sure.
And they're running 16, 17, 18 hours a day or 24 hours a day. Right. The savings is phenomenal. Now you're going to see 25, 30% savings.
So remember too that in the whole production of energy, 50% of the energy that is produced at Sentinel-free or something is used in industrial usage. Mm-hmm. And 25% is in motors and 25% is in pumps. Yep. So 50% of the energy produced down at the plant goes into industry. Pumps and motors are the number one. So we're talking about 25% of the load is now being reduced 10, 20, 30%? What's the biggest scope you've ever had?
Well, we saw a 50% savings on one facility. It was all motors. It was all very old motors. It was very old wiring, which again, the longer the wiring run, the more I²R losses you have because the voltage decreases as it goes down the line. Okay. It happens not only outside on the power lines, but it happens in buildings. Right. It happens a great deal. So the more inefficient that power becomes, it's a catch-22. Even less of that power the motor can use.
So in buildings, we're talking about the hidden green, where the carbon is really coming from. Buildings in general, again, attribute to about 50% of the carbon expressed. Absolutely. Any one of these high-rises you see are spinning motors.
These buildings back in their heyday. Yeah. This building, when it was a brewery, any kind of pump like that, chiller motors, huge wasters of electricity.
Okay, Scott, but we want you to do a demo. We want you to show us.
This is about how it would be wired in a residential. You've got power coming into your meter over here, and then power being supplied to your panel or switch box, and then you've got your electric appliance motors. So if we turn the electricity onto this motor, it starts drawing 5 amps right away. This is what's coming into your house. That's what's making your meter spin. A little over 5 amps of power.
Alrighty. If
we go down, just to show you, there's nothing up my sleeves right here. To this box, we have the same 5 amps of power.
Right. It's about 500 watts.
And then the motors, and then the motor is actually using 5 amps. All right.
About 500
now,
watts.
If you can hear the motor spinning, you can see that it's using 115 volts and 5 amps. Listen to the motor. When we add capacitance to the system, nothing changes.
Nothing.
The motor doesn't slow down, doesn't speed up, has no less power. It's the exact same motor that it was before. It's still using 5 amps. It's still using 115 volts. But now you're only paying for 1.25 amps.
That's amazing.
We just increased the efficiency of that motor by 70%.
Because by 70%.
Yeah, the majority, after that motor starts, The majority of the power that it needs, the reactive power it needs to keep those windings charged, is reactive power and stored in these capacitors. 70% of what that motor needs is right here.
Increasing efficiency is radical resource productivity. That's the principle of natural capitalism again. It always comes back to these four.
Energy efficiency is what we have to accomplish before we start worrying about creating new energy. We've got a lot of solar companies coming to us that we can go out and test a home and bring it up more efficient before they give a solar quote. So they're using less solar.
And that's a spectacular point. I mean, and everybody wants to jump into solar, and for good reason.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
let's take a look at some of the wasteful things we've got in our house and make them better. I love that.
We are right now, excuse me, the only authorized distributor in the Sizer distributor in the Los Angeles area. There are a lot of guys who sell residential boxes. That's all they do. You need the training from the factory. We're all factory trained reps. But they don't need the sizing equipment that I have, and they can't do commercial.
They don't have the sizing equipment that you have.
They don't have, and you don't need it for residential. I mean, guarantee is a minimum of 6 to 10% of residential.
Well, I like the idea of having
Yeah.
someone come in to size my business or my home, and I know that the guarantee they give me, I can hold them to from that day forward.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay. Whereas if I did this via the internet and I hook it up myself, I have perhaps user error. Not sure if I'm getting the most efficient savings that I could be getting, and there's no guarantee because
No.
I did it myself.
No, you won't get a guarantee from those. There's
Right.
a lot of companies out there with plug-in devices and everything else that tell you they're whole house savers. A lot of them are built in China. A lot of them, to be honest with you, are knockoffs of KVAR.
Really?
This is the only one that's patented, to my knowledge.
Well, now listen, Scott. Are we going to be able to? Can Power Reduction Technologies be a resource of LA Eco Party? Can we stay in touch with you?
Absolutely.
Can we stay
I'll
on
always
top
be
of
there.
your
I
installs?
want to
and
help
who
you
got-
reduce all your production costs.
Okay, great, awesome. All right, well, Scott, thank you so much.
You're
buddy.
very
I'm
welcome.
So
Thank
glad
you guys.
could come by.
I wish you all the best, and I look forward to working with you.
Wonderful. Okay, hey, we're gonna go back to our promo while we set up the next interview. We'll see you back here in about 1 minute.